Hey boys, your dad told me that you're in wrestling and doing a great job. I told him I'd make a quick video or several videos for you guys. Your dad did good work from the bottom. I did my good work from the top position. I rode heavy and got a lot of pins, and so I thought I'd give you guys some advice. This first video will be very short, just some general advice you may already know, and your dad can expand on details and scope. And then the second, third videos will be about breaking the person down when you're in top position and the cross-face cradle. I made a couple notes. So generally, on the top, you're going to want to keep your weight on the opponent. You're going to, as much as possible. Now, you're going to have to move around and have some weight on your feet if you're spinning on top of them or pushing them over, obviously. But you want to have focus, so maybe your chest on them or a hip, depending on when it is. Same thing on neutral position. If they shoot in and they got deeper than you want, and you didn't get a full sprawl, you're going to want a bunch of weight on that person. Use leverage, and what that means is just like a shovel, you want to be on the outside. At the end of the shovel, it's easier to move. The same thing in wrestling. When you're trying on the top, you're trying to pull somebody's arm out from under their body. What you're going to do is grab down here instead of up here. It's a lot easier to get movement down here for you. Now that changes depending on position, but your dad can explain more about that. Have several ways to get to the same place. My understanding is you guys already do the half Nelson. The half Nelson is a good solid move, especially for the younger wrestlers. What I want to talk to you guys about is specifically a cross-face cradle. I hit this move all the time. Lots of pins and lots of back points. And I'm surprised that it's not utilized more. So I want to show you guys a cross-face cradle. But if you don't like that, find something else in your toolbox. There's different ways to get to the same place for back points. Same thing for takedowns. You want to have several ways to take. If you're really good at 2 or 3 ways of doing something in each position, you're going to do quite well. Control the head. This applies in top position. It applies in neutral position. You want to control their head to the extent you can. Similarly, if you're on bottom, you don't want them controlling your head. And we may talk about that in some of these videos. But if you're in top position, it's a lot easier to get things done if you're controlling their head. So an easy example is in neutral. If they shoot in on you on a takedown and you're starting a sprawl, or maybe you didn't get much of a sprawl and you got your hips into them, you want to use your hands and really force their head away or down, depending on where they are and where you are. In wrestling, you got to have power. Now, your mom is a very nice person. She's a great mom, but your mom wouldn't make a great wrestler. You got to have power and aggression. And so in some of these moves, you've got to really be quick and powerful. Now, you're going to have your own style. I did have some people, some teammates and others that wouldn't call them powerful, but they're exceptionally skilled. But you still got, in wrestling, you still got to have power sometimes. So there's a spectrum of, you may want, like Alexander, maybe on the skill side with using less power, and somebody else may be on the power side. I don't know, I think of myself and a lot of people I knew were probably more in the middle or towards the power side, where there's times where you're not going full power, certainly, but you're aggressive, and then there's a time to really hit it. And we're going to talk about that, especially on the breakdowns. You're going to want to minimize space typically when you're on the top. You're going to want to have your chest against them or your hips against them. You're going to want to be close. The person on the bottom is going to want to create space so that they can maneuver and get away. But if you're close to them and you're putting your weight on them, like we already talked about, it's going to be hard for them to move around and harder for them to get away. So those are just some general thoughts. Your dad can expand on those, and your dad was good on the bottom, I know, and so he can address the bottom. The bottom was not my strong suit. And so talk to your dad about that, but I want to show you the cross-face cradle. We're doing that next. Thanks.